keep monitoring our batch of mead here and see where we go from here, and we'll keep you posted. So obviously if it's a fail, you'll never see this video. Hey everybody, it's Mike with Seeds and Arrows Frontier, and today I'm going to be trying my first attempt at making some mead. So a lot of people may be asking what actually is mead, and the more people that I talk to about it, they've never heard of mead or don't know what mead is. And mead is actually a source of wine that's actually made with honey and water, and then if you want to do a little bit of creativity, you can add other things in there like apples, oranges, or what we have behind us, actually some strawberries and blueberries. So we're actually going to be making a strawberry blueberry mead with the honey, and we're going to actually be doing that today. So it's usually about a couple months process, but once you get everything started, and I've had a little bit of tobacco going back and forth as far as like getting prepared for this, and there's a certain process that you need to go through in order to actually get the mead to where it's fermenting right, and to where it's actually the yeast is actually processing the mead right. So with that being said, what you actually need is to sterilize all of your equipment that the mead is going to be going into, because you don't want any bacteria getting into the mead. So we actually have a Star San sterilizer that we're going to be using for this, and that comes recommended by a lot of experienced mead makers. So we're going to do that and sterilize all of our equipment, and then from there we will start our mead process. So here we go. So we got to be kind of particular about how much honey we put in here. So I'm weighing this bucket. I sterilized the bucket. And this is last year's summer honey that we had. Well, spring, summer honey. One of these got a hole in it. Yep, just like this one. Well, that was a mess. Alright. Okay, so right now, with that bag had 5.4. I don't know how that, it says pounds and ounces. So maybe it's like 5 pounds and 15 ounces.
It's almost an ounce shy of being 6 pounds.
Okay. So we're going to add a couple more bags into this bucket, and then we'll pour this into the 5-gallon bucket. Oh yeah, look at that. That's looking good. That is really good. Getting it all on the bucket. Yep. Can't beat that. I'm going to mark this right here to show 13.7 ounces. That's what we're going with. 13 pounds, 12.7 ounces. Pure honey. Nice to have bees. So I got some distilled water. And, oh, did you already open it?
Yeah.
Now we're going to pour that up to the red line. I'm curious to see what this weighs compared to what the honey weighs. So this actually weighs 9 pounds, 13 ounces, 13.7 ounces. And that's actually interesting. This is actually lighter than what the honey weighs. So. So I believe we got enough that we can still add this other bag of honey here, and then we're going to mix all this together and then add the fruit in. So it's right now we're going to add this other bag of honey, and this is going to add 6 pounds, 6.9 ounces. So 6 more pounds of honey. I think we're close to like 20 pounds. Alright. It's looking pretty good. Alright, so we're going to stir this up. Mixing all the honey and the water together. So they said the Vikings were very popular with the mead drinks. I'm just kind of curious how the first Viking actually discovered this. I mean, just came across some honey and out in the field or something like that and decided, hey.
Well, they captured Friar Tuck, I think.
Yeah, they captured from the Robin Hood.
Yeah.
So, stirring it up. That's looking good. Yeah, he is. Alright, so now we're going to add in our fruit. And so what we ended up doing was, so we ended up freezing this, and then that just helps to break down like the fruit cell walls and everything. And so now we're going to just kind of mush this all together a little bit, and cut up the strawberries just so that way it gets more exposure to the mead. And see how this tastes when we put it in. It smells good. Alright. I love blueberries and I love strawberries, so can't go wrong with that. This one actually has already got some liquid in it, so that's interesting. But it'll be nice to mix together with the mead already. All that fruit juice. Look at all that fruit juice right there. Oh yeah. Already smelling great. Man, if you could actually smell what I'm smelling, it's just so, it smells delicious. So, got all that in there. So I'm using this North Mountain. That's where I pretty much got all my supplies at from, is the North Mountain yeast nutrient. Add 1 teaspoon per gallon. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to use this, the Red Star yeast. These are, it says this is dry yeast levure. I guess, I don't know.
Is it French?
Something maybe. But Says one packet should be good for 5 gallons, so we're about 4.5 gallons, so I think we'll actually do all right with the whole packet in here. So you're supposed to put the yeast in a 100-degree water to activate it.
Oh.
Alright, so we got our yeast in here. We got it in about a 96-degree water. I'm just going to try to get it spun around in here to activate it. Alright, so I'm guessing that's about a good time. Get that in there, stir it in. I'm going to get it locked up here, put our airlock on there. They say you want to basically get a whole bunch of air bubbles in here, so you need to stir it in. Agitate it. We got our lid, which we sterilized earlier. Lock it all down. And it's locked in. We sterilized our stopper here. Got that sealed in there.
What size bit did you have to use for that?
So we actually, well, we used a 1 1/8 bit drill bit to drill a hole into here, and that gets it about halfway for these stoppers that came from North Mountain. So, and then we got our stopper up here, which we're going to use some sterile water in here. And we already sterilized this as well.
How does that work?
So right here, we got some water in there, and then this goes right on top of this. It's got a couple of holes down here. So basically what happens is the air has to travel up the tube, and it's going to release the gas, and then it's got to pass up out of the center, and then it's got to go through the water chamber to go out. So the air can release and go out of this, but other air outside cannot go back in. So we got that locked in there, and we'll start to see how the fermenting process, if it starts to work. We should start seeing bubbles in the next couple of days starting to come through here. So, but we'll keep on with this process and see how it goes, and move on from there. Okay, so day 2 of our yeast. What I ended up doing was talking to my brother. He seemed to think that we had too much honey per 5-gallon bucket. So we ended up dividing the honey mead mixture. It had not started fermenting yet, so we went ahead and divided it into 2 buckets, and we're now starting the yeast over again. So I also wasn't sure if I activated the yeast right. So my mom, she's an expert yeast activator, and so she's here with me now, and we're looking at this yeast. So we got both of the yeast in cups that we have in here, and we're doing 2 different the Red Star yeast, and so you can see right here
It's starting to bubble.
it's starting to bubble. that means it's starting to activate. And so, but we warmed up the water to about what, 100 degrees. You had it in there in the microwave for a little bit of time.
Yeah, just a few minutes.
We heated up the water for a few minutes, and now
we put some sugar in it.
We put some of the honey mixture. We put some of the honey mixture in here, about a tablespoon, in with the yeast to give them something to start them up, jump start them. And then what we're gonna do is add more distilled water to the mixture, and then pour each of the yeast in here with it. So we'll have double the batch. So I might need to go get some more distilled water. So, but I went ahead and took out all the blueberries and the strawberries, sterilized the pot, put them in there, and then
You show them what you sterilized it with?
yeah, the star sand. Yeah, so I sterilized it with the star sand, then I measured equally the amount of liquid with the honey and water and previous yeast to it. And so now we're going to add more water to it, the mixture, stir it in, and then add the yeast in there. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so after discussing this with the master yeast activator, I'm going to master yeast activator. So the MYA, it's not YMCA, MYA. We're going to heat up, one of the bottles of distilled water, and that's going to just enrich the area, make it a little warmer for the yeast to start to wake up and start, feasting on all the honey and the sugars in there for the blueberries. And
It's not going to be hot. It's
Not-
just going to be warm.
not going to be hot, just warm. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to see how well this mead turns out.
It's 50.
So right now we're in Kentucky, so it is 50 degrees outside, so it is a little cooler. We've had temperatures down in like the 40s at nighttime, so feeling the buckets, they are a little cool. And when I first took the strawberries and blueberries out of the freezer, it was still relatively cool to the touch. So after a day, we've been able to do this. The other mistake that I made was I just basically warmed up the water, put the yeast in there, and then let the yeast stay in there for maybe a matter of a couple of minutes just to mix it all around in the water. So I didn't really give it time to activate. So now that we're actually making two different buckets, we're just adding a little more yeast, which you're not going to get any higher percentage of alcohol because only certain yeast will get you certain percentage of alcohol. So we're just basically going to speed up the process by adding more yeast. I think we've got it activated. All right, so we got our pot of. So my mom, the master yeast activator, said we wanted to almost boil it, so that way the water going in, and this is before you put the yeast in the bucket, but so we gotta bring the bucket over here, and we're gonna add the water into the bucket before we put the yeast in. And then we're gonna do the same with the other bottled water. So. And then so this will mix with the cooler water, the honey and the juice from the strawberry and the blueberry. And then once that cools down a little bit, it'll still be warm, but it'll give the yeast that right temperature of what they want to activate. We're gonna go ahead and add the yeast to this bucket that we just put the hot water into. Now I got my spoon. We're gonna stir this up. All right, so you can see in there, we're getting some decent bubbles. That means the yeast is activating. We're gonna go ahead and pour that right on in here.
Wait, you better check the water to see the temperature.
What's the temperature? It's warm.
It's not hot.
No, it's not hot.
If it's too hot, it'll kill the yeast.
Okay. Look at that. You can actually see the yeast moving around. Isn't that crazy? Look at my little yeast. Oh, look at him. One just farted. Look at that. Oh, look at that. You can just see it. Oh, yeah. They're just like in there having a ball. Great.
They're great. How you like it?
What is it?
It's yeast.
Yeah.
Making bubbles.
All right.
Making bubbles?
It's a science project. All right. So we're pouring the yeast in the mixture. I'm just going to go ahead and rinse it out as much as I can. So we got them in there. So we're going to keep monitoring our batch of mead here and see where we go from here, and we'll keep you posted. So obviously if it's a fail, you'll never see this video.
Does that have to be kept at a certain type of temperature?
Well, so not really. They say you just want it like in a room temperature. You want to keep this in room temperature while it's going through its fermenting process. So we're just going to have it over here, and my dad and I, we're going to check on it throughout the week, and we'll come back to it. And thanks for watching. Stay safe, make each day count, and God bless.